Are y'all scared? Genuine question. Are y'all scared? Scared of what? Just scared in general. Kind of look around and you feel like something is around the corner. You kind of feel that something big is about to happen and it's definitely gonna plaster me in the history books. Y'all feel scared? I think I'm kind of asking this question because I've been having this conversation with people and I haven't been having it directly, just more so from the lens of looking at futures, right? That our futures. Me personally, I'm at that age where it's a very big thing that my peers, myself included, are speaking about, right? But whenever you bring this topic up, you can try it with anyone. You can try it with yourself in the mirror, whoever, just try it. Just ask yourself, what are your plans for the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now, right? And before an answer comes out your mouth, you'll probably realize that there's this kind of gut-wrenching feeling that either just takes the entire thought process before you can even start that thought process on answering the question, or at the very least it kind of just lingers there subtly. It's a flavor that's added to your answer because things just seem very uncertain right now. It seems like we're at this nexus point where things could either go completely left or completely right. But what does seem to be for certain is that change is going to hit everyone like a ton of bricks. And I mean, one thing that I've always said about people or the human condition is that we're very hypocritical. And I don't say that as a bad thing, it's just a thing. Because if there's one thing that we hate collectively as the human race, it's change. But if there's something that we do the most, that's change too. So the fact of the matter is, it seems that change is kind of imminent, right? It feels weird to stand. It's like I'm doing a little speech, but at the same time, I just kind of feel that when I'm sitting down, there's a nerve. I'm convinced that there's a nerve that's like goes from my prefrontal cortex right down to like my hamstring. And when I sit down, it gets kind of, squashed a little bit. And then all of a sudden the words that's in my brain and then the words that come out of my mouth, the pipeline is not really linking up as sufficiently, as smoothly, as consistently as I'd like. And then I end up just using filler words instead. Now for me, it's bothered me enough because I've edited enough of my own videos to be like, hey man, how do I kind of get around that? And I feel that I just speak better when I'm standing, right? So let's try that, see if that's true or not. I'll see when I'm editing this stuff. But change, like we're very good at doing that. We're very good at changing. And yeah, sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst. But fact of the matter, one thing that you can be gleeful about is that when you do change, it just means that you are a product of life itself. The only things that don't change are dead things, so be grateful from that front. Okay, that's why they don't put alive people on money. There you go, there you fucking go. But it kind of feels scary, and I would say it's particularly scary, and I do not think I'm coming from like a biased point of view when I say this, but I feel that is particularly scary for my subsect of our generation in particular. All right, this whole conversation of generations and stuff, I'm only starting to really grasp and understand it because, for one, it's a new-ish topic in comparison to human history. This conversation and topic of generations and what gets categorized where, and then on top of that, the characteristics of these different generations, be it timelines, and all sorts of, external factors. But with ours in particular, which I think, I'm not wrong to say that I'm a Gen Zer, the first Gen Z years. I don't think I'm a boomer. That was probably literally like, I skated past that maybe just by being born 2 years or even a year later. I do not know. But all I know is that we're right smack bang in the middle of let's say the boomer generation and the Gen Z generation. We kind of feel like we're not really a part of either, but at the same time, we're a part of both. Okay, and this is everyone that's in their mid-20s. And then the older you get, before you get to the boomer generation, mid-20s up until that point, that's the group of people that I'm speaking to, right? Because if you really deep this, right, the whole way that we grew up, right, and speaking to my peers, it's something that happened for the first time, right? And if it didn't happen for the first time, the ones that did it before us were beta testing that shit. I'm talking about, just look up the concept of teenagers, for example, right? It's actually a really new concept as far as human history is concerned. Teenage years and having that as a specified time period in your life, it's a fairly new thing. Because if you think about it, as far as life expectancies, lifespans and everything back then, there was no time to be a teenager. You were just a baby and an adult. That's all you was. You were shitting in your diapers, and then you were paying bills, working in the oil rigs, okay? Birthing kids, all right? Getting oily on your hands and everything, dying at war. There was no in-between space. There was no third space that happened, no transitionary period between a child and adulthood. And that kind of really got perfected with our generation. I'd say we kind of did adolescent life right for the first time. But then with that came a whole slurry of, let me not say problems, but ways of thinking that have probably never really been experienced in human societies before, right? And I think a lot of us remember it because, damn, remember being in our adolescent years and like everywhere you turned, you were just demonized for being a teenager, right? It was in pop culture, it was in the schools, it was at homes, you know, like our parents and our families and everything. When they saw us in our teenage years, it was like, they looked at us with eyes as you did something wrong, you know, just because. And I think that kind of came from a place of them also not really knowing what the hell is this actually, like what is this kid right now, what is this, like he's like an adult but like not really. He's like a, you know, y'all know that that dude that's been kind of blowing up on Twitter in particular, the one who was talking about when they first discovered pictures and was like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like it's like a painting but it's real, you know. It's like, I feel like that's how the world was. That's how the world was with teenagers. It was like he's an adult, but like I don't know, like he's like I can talk to him, but you know, but I feel that's kind of what we were. Where's this thing? Crazy. Hopefully the air current doesn't go too wild. I'm gonna take this thing off and continue. Right? So, and I think because of all of that, I mean, like Hollywood, it was in the movies, you know, teenagers, right? Remember that? Like that was the whole thing, just the teenagers, right? And the whole stereotypes of us closing our doors with like signs on the doors, do not disturb and everything. Remember that in movies and stuff? Yeah. We were kind of, you know, alone in that journey, a part of our lives, but not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but we were just kind of relegated the role of trailblazer, whether we liked it or not, just for being at that inflection point. And I feel like it is because of all of those reasons that we are particularly anxious about the future, right? Yeah, it's because really, realistically, as much as there are those that are still alive that came way before us that can give us advice on how to navigate life, we always have to look at that advice with a grain of salt because it's not really 100% transmissible to our lives, right? There's always got to be some kind of, you know, trimming that you have to do before it's this piece that you can fit into the puzzle that is your life every single time, you know. And the advice that they give us a lot of the time also seems more fantastical than grounded if you think about it, right? What should just make logical sense when you try to apply it to our day and age, it kind of seems more fantastical. It's like, yeah, just do what you love, build it and they'll come. It's like, nah, not really. You know what I mean? And this is like tenets for success that have kind of just stayed true for longer than we have words to describe, but not so much anymore. You know, you can't just build it. You got to build it and then also attract people. Like, that's the real truth. Like, you got to build it and then give people a reason to come. Just it being there is not reason enough anymore. And I kind of mean that for everything, literally and metaphorically, right? And that's just an example. But I think take solace in the fact that your anxiety is not misplaced, right? A lot of the times you kind of look around, and I think social media kind of tricks us into thinking that the norm is that everyone has it figured out except for you. And it's true, you suck. You kind of just step your game up, bro. You suck right now, and it's just you. Now I'm kidding. It's not just you. If anything, it's a lot of us, most of us. I know a lot of people that are really doing well on social media, and then I also know them like on a personal basis. And it's like, yeah, you really curate those very finite moments where shit goes extremely well. And yeah, you get a lot of content out of those moments. I'll tell you all that. Okay, so that's something that you all need to be privy of. So all in all, you're not the only one that's kind of just nervous about where they are, for one. But number two, also ask yourself, like, the stress factor of that nervousness and that anxiety, is that really worth it? Because can you really change where we're headed by yourself? Probably not. And something that my pops always says is that, you know, you worry, you die. You don't worry, you still die. So I worry, you know. I say don't, like, the whole stress factor of it, just get rid of it. Like, if anything, I really cannot say for any reason why stress is a good thing. It really isn't. So get rid of that. You know, it's not going to do you no good. You feel me? If anything, you're just putting yourself through a bad situation twice. That's, at best, that's what you're doing. So cut that out. No one do you no favors. They're going to do you no favors, bruh. Yeah, I can't see this camera. I need to make sure it's still rolling. Okay, we're still live. So that's kind of what I would say. And then as far as just trying to make it, right? Because a lot of the times what becomes the mental issues that we face usually starts from like the physical realm, the 3D realm, the realm that we can touch, this corporeal realm that we exist in or on. And those problems are usually financial, especially at our age, right? It kind of seems like our goals are running further and further away from us. I think that a lot of the stuff, again, that we were taught, you know, especially, hey, do what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. That thing, hey, that thing is cooking a lot of people. Because a lot of people are doing what they love and they're stuck. But they believe that, you know, in junction with, or conjunction, that's, both of those words are wrong. In tandem of doing what you love and and then also, you know, build it and they will come. Those two phrases, they kind of cause a lot of issues when they are kind of interpreted out of context. Context being the times that we're in, right? Here's the real truth that a lot of people don't want to hear. Like, you are probably, especially in this day and age, going to have to do what you don't love. You need to ask yourself the question, where's the money? Start there. You have to start there, because your dreams are something that you get to do, right? In this day and age, no one is going to kind of hand you the platform to live out your dreams on a silver platter. You really do have to take that thing by force. And what that means is you doing all the uncomfortable stuff, doing all the unfun stuff. Like, you do have to do that. You do have to do that. And if I had to be the one to tell you, I'm going to tell you as a self prescribed, more authoritative figure than the people that are older than me, that is probably your age. I'm going to tell you that you have to do what you don't want to do if it's paying the bills. That's where you got to start. Now, don't look at all of these other people, because everyone, like a lot of these people that you see that, you know, do what they love and then it just booms for them, right? Understand that that happens so infrequently that you know most of the people that happens to. Think about that, right? How many billions of people exist right now, and how many countless people have existed that have died in the past, right? Them getting to do their passion from the jump, right? It's such an infrequent event that you know most of them that it happened to. Think about that, right? And you might not know them by name or whatever the case is, but you've definitely seen their, you know, you saw that. It was an event, it was a moment, right? That's how infrequent it is. What does that mean? That it won't happen to you? Nah, I just don't think that the way in which it happened to those few people is really conducive to stake your future on. Don't do that. Like, go and get that job that you don't want to do, the one that doesn't have a fancy title to it, or whatever the case is, the one that doesn't really look good in a social scenario, right? Remember, those people that you're trying to impress not gonna be there when them bills can't get paid. All right, like, hey, bro, you impressed me, so hey, here, I'm gonna pay your bills for you. Who has ever said that ever, right? So remember that. And if anything, that's probably going to build like a lot of humility, which is a skill that you do need when you're trying to climb all the way up there. Because those that do make it to the top without humility, look where the world is now. It's because it's a lot of people with a lot of power with no humility. So it's probably for the best that most people have to go through that filter to get to where they want to be, right? And speaking of filter, y'all heard about the great filter? Shit, I'm gonna save that one for another video. Actually, I'm gonna hold that one off. The great filter, shall allude to it a little bit though. So the great filter, right? It's kind of this concept, this thought experiment, where civilizations in history, in the universe's history, did exist at some point, like civilizations that were at relatively the same point that we're at now, like a type 0 point something generation, sentient creatures that could communicate on a complex level, kind of like we can, right? But there was always this one factor in their history that stopped them from getting to a point where, let's say, they could become a space-faring race, right? And that point, that inflection point, is what's known as the great filter. And the question that a lot of thinkers in this types of fields ask is, have we passed that? If we did, that's a good thing. But if we're still approaching it, that's a very scary thing. And I ain't gonna lie, if y'all weren't anxious about the future, let me make y'all a little bit more anxious. If we haven't passed that inflection point, then that doesn't really spell too well for us as a human society. But again, for me, it's more, I don't know if it's kind of maniacal to say, and I'm a little self-snitching over here, but that's kind of a thought that's a lot more exciting than it is dreadful for me, because as an agent of chaos, this change, that I have allowed myself to be an avatar, right? I've decided to stop trying to go against the elements of chaos and change and decided to dance with it. Learn how to dance with change, y'all, and you realize how fun it is. It's like watching a constant movie. That's the best movie to watch, and it never ends, and it just keeps on happening, and it's all happening for the first time. That shit fun as hell. Yeah, I tell y'all, get tapped in, bro. Get tapped in, bro. So yeah, if y'all haven't thought about that, it's something to kind of, I guess put yourself to sleep with, just the idea that the great filter, it's on the way, right? Terence McKenna, he speaks about this. He spoke about this way before all of this started happening. Like, he died in 97. And pretty much in one of his talks, he said, it's kind of like where human history is at right now. And he said this then, is we're at this point where you're looking at a body of water that's still, but then there's bubbles that are kind of starting to erupt and reach the surface, and that's usually a sign that some protein form is going to breach the water, and that's kind of where we are. And that protein form, and whatever that is going to dictate our direction going into the rest of our history, right? That's pretty, for me, that sounds more epic than scary. But yeah, if I kind of made you feel a little bit at ease, I'm glad that I could inject this thing and kind of just put you right back to square one, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to make a decision for you. You decide if you want to be afraid of things or not. And my words, despite what I said, shouldn't be what tells you to stop doing a thing like being afraid or not. You should make that decision. So actually, hell yeah, dog, I kind of made you scared again. And now you have to decide to just stop being scared, or to be more scared, or to be right back where you started. But the fact of the matter is, I got to say what I got to say, man. Shit. Y'all have a good day. Y'all fuck with me standing, though. I kind of want to, I think the standing thing is kind of, maybe it's kind of cool for y'all, but it does kind of feel a little bit weird. But I feel like I'm able to get my thoughts off easier when I'm standing. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm not going to edit this either. Like, I don't want to do I kind of want to save those. Like, I'm cooking in the background. Like, there's some other like more deeper content that I'm trying to get out. And that's kind of where I'm trying to put all my effort to editing in. But I feel like I would like to believe that the stuff that I'll be saying is kind of valuable enough where you don't need the theatrics around it for it to, be engaging. Hopefully. Otherwise, like, nah, bro, you gotta throw in the weird sounds, bro. You suck, like, kind of boring. Put me to sleep. Of which, you're welcome. Don't take them pills, boy. Don't take them pills. Put you to sleep. Hell yeah. It's my voice, wasn't it? It was my voice, right? And I mean, damn. In the wise words of a character that was done dirty by his writer, wake up to reality.